Well, it's January 2021, and landlord-tenant law will continue to be an important practice area as the COVID-19 pandemic continues. I'm Joe Forward, and I'm with the State Bar of Wisconsin. And today I'm here with Tristan Pettit of Petrie and Pettit in Milwaukee. Tristan represents landlords and property management companies throughout Wisconsin. He's also a co-author of the newly released Wisconsin Landlord and Tenant Manual, published by the State Bar of Wisconsin Pinnacle. Tristan is here to discuss eviction moratorium and other issues, and to talk a little bit about the book. Tristan, how you doing? Thanks so much for being with us.
I'm good, Joe. Thanks. Staying safe. Hope you are as well.
Definitely. Thanks for that. So Tristan, tell us, I know a hot topic right now, last year and this year, starting this year, is eviction moratoriums. Can you talk about what's going on with those in Wisconsin right now?
Sure. Yeah, it's gives you a lot to keep up with. In the past, over the summer, we had the state eviction moratorium that has lapsed, and then we had in around September, we had the CDC moratorium that continued until December 31st, but it was extended with the stimulus package now through January 31st. And essentially, it prohibits certain kinds of evictions from being filed. So if a landlord has been served with a declaration by the tenant attesting to meeting several conditions, then they cannot bring a failure to pay rent eviction action against them. That's it in a broad nutshell. You can still proceed to bring non-rent breaches, and there is the opportunity of challenging the declaration if you don't think that's correct, although there's two different sides on that. Many tenant advocates don't think you can do that. So it's a learning lesson. Things are changing day by day. Every county is treating things a little bit differently. So we're all learning.
Okay. And does that moratorium, does that apply to residential and commercial tenancies?
Just residential.
Okay. So how do you advise landlords who have been faced with a declaration like that? I mean, the rent obviously is still accruing, but the landlord is not getting paid. What is their avenue? What are they doing right now?
Well, right now, all you can do is kind of encourage the tenant to apply for different kinds of rental assistance and try to facilitate that. So there's a lot of agencies, at least in the Milwaukee area, that you can go through and that can help do that. Problem is, if the tenants aren't cooperative, then there's not a lot that you can do. You kind of have to just sit and wait it out. And obviously that's a big problem for landlords because their bills continue to become due. They don't have a moratorium, so they still have to pay their taxes and their insurance and their mortgage. And so that's putting a lot of the smaller mom and pop landlords in a very difficult situation. With the stimulus bill that was approved and extended the moratorium through January 31st, there was $25 billion that was allotted for rental housing, and our understanding is that money is going to start to be distributed January 20th, and once that's available, that should be very helpful for landlords. And the nice thing about this stimulus package is the landlord actually has the ability to do the application in case the tenant might not be cooperative. The landlord can do that, and then the tenant just has to sign off, and that way the landlord can get their money. And it's going to be for rent arrears as well as 3 months prospective rent with a potential extension for that beyond. So hopefully that will stabilize things. By no means is that going to get landlords back into the position they were pre-COVID.
Great. Thanks for that, Tristan. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new book that came out, the Wisconsin Landlord and Tenant Manual. I know you're a co-author on that book. So can you tell us a little bit about what's inside that book? What landlord and tenant landlord-tenant attorneys and other attorneys could learn from that manual that just was released recently?
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. This has been a long time coming. I know when I was approached about this topic and we were discussing, what should be included. I mean, that was several years ago, and there are now. It's finally completed. It's very thorough. There are both landlord attorneys as authors as well as tenant advocates as authors, and it covers a broad spectrum. Some of the topics that I covered up front had to do with screening and qualifying a prospective applicant. It's going to deal with a lot of fair housing, discrimination issues, and putting processes in place to make sure that the whole screening process goes well. I know I wrote about rental documents and what your documents should include and what they should not include. But I know there's a lot of other areas as well. Collections, there's a specific focus on manufactured homes. There's dealing with tenants' rights and maintenance issues. It covers the gamut. It should be pretty thorough.
Great, thanks, Tristan. And lastly, just as a final thought, what do you think some of the major landlord-tenant issues are going to be besides eviction moratoriums moving forward in 2021?
Well, to be honest, everything is taking a back seat to the moratorium, and because that is changing and because different counties view it the same, I think that's going to take the majority of everyone's attention. However, still we're still dealing with emotional support animals and the problems with that and issues related to that. I think generally we also are just going to have to deal with housing in general. Again, if a lot of these smaller landlords fail, there's going to be a shortage of affordable housing. And so we just need to I think the focus is going to be on the big picture and what we do to get housing under control so there's not such a disparity as there unfortunately is.
He's Tristan Pettit of Petrie and Pettit in Milwaukee. Tristan, thanks so much for being with us today.
You bet. Thank you, Joe.